Well, I am super excited to get a chance to share with you guys tonight. I know that someone else taught last week, for those of you who are here. So my name is James Lenhoff, and I spent 23 years as a financial planner, and so I'm super excited to share some of my experience in that space. I helped to put this curriculum together, and it is my joy to teach about this stuff. Also, I know where I'm at in the process, where I'm going through these different slides and different points. Please interrupt me. Please stop me. Please ask questions. Tell me to go back and say something else again. Don't just let me blow by, because some of these things are complicated. They're confusing. Money is messy. And so we need to make sure we are clear on different ideas as we go through. So please don't hesitate to slow me down and get me to explain something more or answer questions that you have, okay? I want this to be more of a workshop. This is definitely not a lecture. This is an opportunity for you to get into the weeds and work with the situation that you're facing. We have Bruce back in the back as a coach. I'm certainly happy to help. I don't know if we'll have other coaches come through and be available, but if you need help as we get started into some of the actual workshop stuff, just raise your hand. We'll come help you with different points, okay? So what we're going to start with is just a quick recap of last week's conversation. You guys, if you were here, we talked about this contrast of the U.S. idea and understanding of poverty compared to the rest of the world. Half of the world's population survives on $5 or less per day. In the U.S., this is 2024 data, our poverty line for a family of four is $31,000 a year in income. And we also have social safety nets. A lot of the countries out there where people are living on less than $5 a day don't have things like food assistance or rent assistance or anything like that. And that is not a definition of ease. I don't want you to hear in this, and I hope you didn't hear last week when they went through this, that this means that the stuff you're facing isn't hard. It's incredibly hard. It's unbelievably difficult and complicated. In fact, I would argue one of the reasons why it's complicated is because of the programs. The programs are confusing and hard to navigate and designed in many ways to keep people stuck. And so it is hard to navigate this, but we just need to put it into perspective in what the rest of the world is facing, so we just understand the opportunity that we have to live with intention. We also have this really crazy thing in the U.S. that's far and away higher than other countries, and that's credit or debt. We have an ability to borrow like no one else on this planet, and that has shaped a lot of our culture. We live on debt. We spend through debt. We accumulate debt by acquiring things. And so while we are in these situations where we're stuck cash flow-wise, we're also borrowing to pay for those things along the way, and that adds complexity and weighs us down. So we're going to talk about this idea of debt. We're going to get more into tonight credit reports and complexities around this, but one of the biggest issues that we have with debt is that it is a hole that we continue to dig. And the first thing we need to do when we are in a situation where we're facing debt is to make sure we stop digging. You don't get out of a hole by continuing to do the things that made the hole happen in the first place. And so it is a really important practice for us to understand how that debt got there and make sure we don't keep adding to it. We talked about the idea of opportunity cost. If you guys were here, we looked at this borrowing versus spending, and we talked about different things like vacations and how if you borrow to get a vacation and then you keep compounding that, what it actually costs you. And the idea of these a 20% interest rate costing you $225 and compounding that every year creates this outcome where you have long since had the experience or had the cell phone or had the thing that you bought, the clothing that you bought. It's all thrown away. It's all done. We did it, and yet we're still paying for it. And that's what causes us to continue to get behind, because we're stuck paying for things we've already experienced or consumed, and we're continuing to have to throw cash flow down that hole. We talked about the cash flow. Did you guys have an opportunity to calculate your cash flow? Any questions that came from that so far? If you, let's see, did you guys need folders? Do you have folders yet? Yes. Here. Bruce, can you grab them a couple folders? Thank you. That cash flow worksheet that's in there is really, really important for us to understand. And what I want you to recognize is this is a changing thing. So as you start last week and we continue to unpack it, you're going to keep probably scratching out numbers and putting more accurate numbers in. And that is normal. You are human. Welcome to the human experience, right? Like I guessed at it and then I found out that guess was wrong and this is actually the right number. That is totally right. Just keep making sure you're tracking and putting data in. What we did want to ask is, as you've been paying more attention to it, was there anything in this last week that surprised you? As you kind of kept track of your spending, anything that jumped out?
Spending on unnecessary stuff.
Yeah? What was there a particular thing that you were spending? Gas? Well,
No, I needed.
Yeah.
I was putting more gas in this week than I did last week because I was driving more
Yep.
this week, and then like frivolous stuff like going to the store. I want something that I want and knowing that I don't need it.
Yeah.
Because for me, my problem is spending money that I don't have.
Yes.
And it's like I do shopping as a retail therapy.
Yes. Yes.
And that's my problem. Every month, I'm like, I noticed from last month to this month, I'm $500 in the hole every month, like,
Yep.
because of that.
That is very common.
Yeah.
And it's easy to do. Yeah, go ahead.
If I can give a suggestion,
Yeah.
because I used to have that problem, watch Hoarders.
That'll make you not want things. Yeah.
I still say
Well, watch Hoarders. Yeah.
watch that.
Yeah.
That's
That's.
my friend.
Yeah. That'll make you want to get rid of everything you own, right? Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. One of the things that's really interesting, and you highlighted this idea of kind of emotional spending. One of the things we want to move towards as we're tracking our cash flow is intentional spending. I'm going to spend this much on this stuff. I'm not going to buy more than that. I'm not going to spend in just a reaction. I'm going to have a thought ahead of time. It's going to cost me this much in groceries, this much in clothing, this much in whatever. I'm going to spend with intention. You're still going to spend. We don't really live in a world where we don't spend. The question is, are we spending in the moment without thinking, or are we spending based on what we've already decided before we get there? Oh yeah, we all do. We all do. All right. Did you see a difference in your attitude as you were spending money this week? Knowing that you would have to write it down.
Yeah.
Did that help?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It hurt more.
It hurt, yeah. Ouch, 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 ouch. Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Because once you actually write down everything, like I wrote down, I scratched out different, like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
I wrote down it was ridiculous, like, how much money I spent, like, it's
Yep.
ridiculous.
It is surprising to face it,
Yeah.
right? And when you know you have to face it, like I'm going to have to write this down. So it'd be helpful as you think about it, like knowing I'm going to have to write down that I'm going to pay $4 for this bottle of Coke that I could buy at Kroger, a 2-liter for $1.50 or whatever, or maybe they've got 5 for 5, they got all these deals. That's right, yeah. So knowing that I'm buying, a fourth of the amount of, pop for 4 times the money, I'm gonna have to write that down, right? That should change that. Yeah, go ahead.
I spent $2.49 today and I was on a jam and time.
Yep, yep.
$2.49 on a 16-ounce can.
There it is,
of
there it is.
Diet Coke. I'm like, damn.
Yep. Those add up. Those add up. They sting. And if you need to write it down, then you're going to pay attention to it a little bit more. So that's good. Anything you learned about your family in this process? Any others that are influencing you as you've had some of this tracking? Yeah.
I spend more on my family than I do myself.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. And one of the things that's really interesting about spending on your family is once you tip over this pattern where you're spending more than you have, they don't know what you have. They don't know what you're dealing with. And if you just spend, then they assume you have it. They assume that they'll get it. There's a kind of well, you did it last time. Why wouldn't you buy it now? And now you've got this pressure and this sense of, well, oh, you're right, I did spend. I guess I'll figure it out. I'll just buy it. The more that we get stuck in this pleasing others by our spending, the more spending we get stuck in, right? It's just this pattern that reinforces itself. That's great. All right. So we did talk last week about kind of the vision, the goals. We started last week, if you remember, the focus was just defining the reality. Defining the reality is, hey, this is the world's population, how it deals with poverty. This is our experience of poverty in the U.S. One of the reasons why we want to take this approach is we next need to step into understanding your reality. So first, where are we in the world's experience? Now, what am I actually facing? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. One of the problems that I see in a lot of these money classes is we start with our last step, which is changing your reality. If you start changing things you don't understand, you don't know if it's actually helping, because you don't even know what you're really dealing with. And so we don't want to go straight to all the different places we can cut, all the different things that we can do to spend less, because we don't even know if it'll fix it. We need to understand what we're facing first, and then know what our best steps are, which is next week, priorities within what you're facing. So once we know what you're facing, then we can start to figure out what's the best step to take first, second, third. Let's take those steps. Now we can start to change it. Does that make sense? We don't want to put the cart before the horse and end up making mistakes. All right. Our strategies that we're really focusing on are that we want to get to a positive cash flow. So that means spending less than what's coming in. That would leave you with a positive cash flow. We need to keep current bills current, and we need to make sure that we are putting some level of protection in place, saving for an emergency, and improving our credit score along the way. We're going to talk about credit score tonight. It's going to get really weedy and detailed, and I'm sorry ahead of time. I will try to not bore you to tears. I may have already failed at that, but we're going to do our best. All right, so here's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to be looking at understanding what your reality is. First, understanding what is avoidable in your expenses. What are the things that we could do that actually would change your cash flow? We also want to understand how your credit report impacts what you're facing. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but credit reports are now so important to everything. You want to get a cell phone, they pull your credit report. You're going to get a new apartment, they pull your credit report. Everything that is happening in our financial lives is based on that stinking credit report.
Insurance.
Yep. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
got a question.
Yeah.
So, is this true for every time they pull your credit report, your score go down?
That is true in a hard inquiry. We're going to talk about that. It does cause your credit score to go down. That has changed a little bit. It's not as bad as it used to be, but it absolutely will cause your score to go down. You bet. And so, yeah, we need to make sure we know when are they pulling, what is happening, but also, most importantly, what are they seeing? If you don't know what's on your report, you don't know what they're going to see when they pull it, and they may reject you for a thing you don't even understand. It might not even be true. A lot of times credit scores or credit reports have things on them that are wrong. But if you don't know that, you can't fix them, right? So that's what we're going to work on. And then we also are going to end the night by talking about your balance sheet. We're going to look at your net worth. And I'm going to explain what that means. It's a really important way for you to understand your situation and understand your reality. All right, so let's talk about cash flow. There are two ways that we increase our cash flow. We can either increase what's coming in. How do we increase what's coming in? What would be a way that you would increase your cash flow coming in?
Side hustle.
Side hustle, gig economy, you bet. What's that? So I say so?
Like along like save at least 100 a week.
Yeah, so if we have extra money, then we can save. That would be increasing our net worth. We're saving money. That's absolutely right. But in terms of increasing what's coming in, we could do a gig job, we could do a second job, we could ask for a raise, right? Those are relatively limited, but they're still there. We still want to think about it. You can't work 12 jobs. I would not recommend it. And we also, sometimes you can go to your boss and you can ask for a raise. It doesn't mean you're going to get it. So the problem with the money increasing coming in is it's not guaranteed. We don't know if we can actually do that. Our other way of increasing cash flow is to decrease what's going out. So we either increase what's coming in or we decrease what's going out. Those are the only options, right? Go ahead.
You could liquidate some assets.
Which would increase money in. That's right. That's an option, right? If you have something you could sell, that's right, you could sell it. But But we want to get to a place where that consistent monthly cash flow is resulting in a positive number, like you were saying, saving $100. Like if we can get to a place where we have $100 extra every month, we're growing, we're climbing, right? So one of the most important ways, because that increasing money in is not guaranteed, we got to make sure we're reducing what's going out. And we want to make sure we are focusing on avoidable expenses. So here's some things we want to talk about when it comes to avoidable expenses. The first is when we are overpaying for things that we need. Okay? So you may say, I need a cell phone. And I would argue in today's world that's a reasonable thing to say. Like I need to be able to, get to work. I need to be able to call people. I need to be able to map things, GPS, exactly. I need to be able to do these things. And you can say that's a need. And I would say, okay, I'll give you that. That doesn't mean you need the newest one. That doesn't mean you need to continually upgrade to the newest version, because we end up in situations where we're stuck in monthly payments that increase because these things keep climbing. We keep upgrading and getting the newest version. And the problem in our world is they make that really easy. You can have the brand newest version that does makes your face into a unicorn, which is like the coolest thing ever, apparently. But it's only $10 a month more. And you're like, oh, that's nothing. But they all add up. And so if we're overpaying for our needs, we are wasting resources. We also need to make sure that we're not spending too much money on eating out and convenience. That's another thing that is a big overpayment. Needs, food would be one of those needs. How can we do that efficiently rather than conveniently? When we're going through the drive-thru because it's late, we've had a hard day at work, and we're just going to go do the easy thing, we will spend way, way, way more money on that need than if we went to the grocery store. One thing that's really helpful for us to categorize in that budget tracking is how much did you spend on food? Not just groceries, but food. And what could you shift that would allow you to spend less on that need? Particularly now, with as expensive as food is getting, this is something we really got to pay attention to. It's getting out of control. And if we aren't paying attention to it, it will steal a lot of resources from us. The other thing that we can pay attention to is how much we're spending on wants. Clothes. Clothes are a need. You do need clothes. However, you don't need all the new clothes. You don't need more than a bajillion pairs of jeans, right? We end up in a situation where we're just accumulating because, like you said earlier, retail therapy. It feels good. It feels good. But it is something that is unnecessary. Entertainment is a want. That doesn't mean we shouldn't enjoy our life, we shouldn't have fun, but we shouldn't be overspending on those things and causing ourselves to go into a negative cash flow. Here's some other things that a lot of times get overlooked. Avoidable expenses are overdraft charges. So if you're staying on top of this stuff, we want to make sure we are not paying unnecessary bank fees. I would argue not just overdraft charges, but even fees for accounts. Things like going and getting money orders instead of writing a check. If the bank charges you $3 to get a money order, that's a waste of $3 if you can just write a personal check. We want to make sure we're paying attention to how we're paying things and avoiding those extra costs. Payday loans. Payday loans are one of the worst things that's ever been invented. They are absolutely destructive. Avoid them like the plague. The level of interest that they are charging is completely out of control. Unnecessary insurance. This is a very common thing. When we are in an employment situation, there's a lot of times someone who will come, and I have a specific company here. I'm not necessarily wanting to throw everybody under the bus, but you've heard of this one in particular because of the duck, Aflac, right? When you are in a situation where you need to be saving, you need to be building, you don't need to be spending money on insurance that is extremely expensive and is most likely not going to happen. We can get there at some point. But if because you're buying an unnecessary Aflac policy, you're also going late on your utility bill is more important. We got to keep current things current. And so we end up overspending on these unnecessary things because we are convinced that they're necessary, and we end up missing out on the stuff that we need to keep on top of. Talked about fees, bank fees, late fees. Takeout food delivery. DoorDash is notorious for this. Oh my gosh, DoorDash is awful. Delivery fees, They hide the delivery fee. It's a no big deal. It's not, but what they're doing, ironically or incredibly, is they're actually charging more for the menu item. If you go and order from the restaurant directly, a lot of them already have delivery, you pay less because DoorDash is upping the menu item charge. That's how they're getting paid. And so just pay attention to what's the most efficient way, if I'm going to do this, what's the most efficient way I can do it. And then the other big one is old collections. We're going to talk about collections in the credit report section. But when we are in these situations where we're getting phone calls that are pounding us to pay on old collections, I'm going to show you why that's a waste of money. But one of the biggest issues is it's the loudest bear at the door. It's the one that's telling you, if you don't pay me something on this, I'm going to steal your firstborn, right? It's this really aggressive messaging. But they know there's really no reason for you to pay it. Now, I don't want you to hear, don't pay what you owe. If you are in a situation where you can afford to pay those things, I would want you to pay them. Morally, you are obligated to pay them. I'm fine with that. But I don't want you to be chasing old collections and trying to pay those off, and in the meantime, making new ones. That's where we start getting into this spiral where we can't get out. So we want to make sure we're not paying these old collections that we don't need to pay. There is an entire industry now of these scam artists that are taking advantage of the fact that people are used to getting these collection notices. And if they know somehow that you have gotten collections in the past, they know that this is something that you have responded to, they're going to take advantage of you. The most important thing, and we're going to, if you haven't already, we are going to pull your credit report. That's one of the things we're really focused on here. You need to know if you owe it or not. Because if you look on your credit report and it's not on there, you don't owe it. And you can tell that guy to go pound sand, right? We need to be very confident in what actually is our responsibility rather than just waiting for them to tell us if we owe, because that puts us at risk of being taken advantage of. That's absolutely a scam. That's not the way it works.
Yeah, that is a big thing.
Nobody gets a warrant for their arrest because they're behind on a bill. It could go to collection. It could get a judgment where they garnish your wages, but they're not going to send the police to your door to arrest you because you're behind on a bill. Go ahead.
Can she block and report them as?
Absolutely. I would block that email. I would completely, I would never respond to them for sure. Because once you respond, they're like, oh, that is a real person, because they're blasting these to 1,000 or 5,000 people. As soon as you ask a question, they're like, we got a person, now we can get after her, right? So just ignore it and block it. Absolutely. Yes, thank you for calling that out. All right. Fees for banking services could be free. This is the money order. Tax withholdings. So this one's a big one. All right. If you are getting a giant refund on your tax return, stop. Stop doing that. If you are sending the government a bunch of money every month from your paycheck that you don't need to send them, and then you dig a hole every month because you don't have enough money, and then you get that big giant check at the end of the year when you file your taxes, and you fill back in all the things you dug the hole with, then you are giving the government money for free. They don't give you interest on that. They just give you your money back. And in the meantime, you've paid credit card interest the whole time. So what we need to do is stop digging throughout the year and then waiting for the payday of the tax return to save us. If you are in a situation where you are getting things like the earned income tax credit, or you have a reason why your tax rate is 0 or darn near 0, then be sending them only what you owe them, because what that will mean is that your paycheck, every paycheck, will be substantially higher, and you'll end up digging a smaller hole. Now here's the big caveat here. This is the big warning. If you do that, that means you will not get the big refund. So don't be counting on it, because it ain't coming, right? If you make that change and then you're like, but I'm still going to get my $5,000 refund. No, you're not. You got it as monthly cash flow along the way. So it's one or the other, but the one you want is the monthly cash flow, because it's what actually keeps you consistently staying ahead of the game rather than digging a hole that you have to get bailed out on. And then this last one is check cashing services. You can take any check to the bank that it's drawn on and cash it for free. So if you have a check that you need to cash and you don't have enough in your bank account to cover it, you can go to, if it says Fifth Third on it or U.S. Bank, you can go to any of those banks and cash it for free. Go ahead.
Banks charge you now for cashing checks if you don't have, if your check is real, say like, if I went to U.S. Bank and I got a bank account with
Yep.
Fifth Third.
Yep.
And I don't have the money to cover that check. And
That's
I
right.
go to, whatever that U.S.
US Bank, right.
They charging me to cash that check with them because I don't have an account with them. They charge you.
If it's drawn on that bank,
Yeah, they actually charge you to cash a check with their bank. Like they charge you.
Oh.
Banks charge you. So
they
Yeah.
normally don't, so that's new,
They-
and
they-
daggone
they
it, banks
charge.
suck, you know.
they charge.
They find more ways to make money off of us than we could ever imagine. All right, let's keep moving. We're going to talk about, this is I don't want you to look at the outline because you're going to get the answer. I learned that from you. Last time I asked a question and he had the exact answer because it's in the notes and I forgot about that. So this is a quick exercise that is kind of an interesting little challenge. If you flip in your folder, the center part, the pages where this part. Hang on. Can I use yours as an example? Yes. In your blue folder, this section in the middle, flip a couple of pages in. There's a grocery exercise. You'll see, and that maybe it's 3 pages right there. Here it is. Can I hold that up?
Yeah.
So, right here, you'll see prices. It's on the right side. It says grocery buying challenge. This is just a fun little challenge for us to see what can we put together in this list that gives us the cheapest meal, and what can we put together that gives us the most expensive meal. So we've got this categorized as main course, sides, and a snack. So we're not, we're basically saying what's the cheapest I can buy in the main course, the side, and a snack. If I combine those things, what's that meal? And then what's the most expensive version of the meal? So if you guys want to take a look at that, it should take just a few minutes. There's only a few options for each one. And if you look ahead in the outline, it'll give you the answer, so don't look ahead. I'm trusting you. And the reason why we're doing this is because this is the kind of stuff we need to be thinking through. How do we create a spending habit that is aiming at something that reduces our outlay if we can find those opportunities? We want to make sure we take advantage of it. There are calculators on your table if you need them. Yep, $6.48. That is our cheapest. Our most expensive, $21.85. So that's right. It's right here. I just popped it up. That wasn't there before. Yeah. I just put it there. So this is to show us when we got to make decisions around what's realistic and what we can actually afford. And one of the things that is so striking about this is it's the same amount of food. But the difference between these two is $15.37 for one meal. Which if we do that 3 times a day over 30 days is $1,247. It makes a big, big difference. Now, I'm not saying that we should always choose this. I'm just saying we definitely shouldn't always choose this, right? Like, we should be making sure we're taking advantage of opportunities. So one of the things that's really helpful is if we are in the grocery store and we find that they've got a sale on chicken. Hey guys, guess what we're having for dinner all week this week? It's friggin' chicken, man. It's the best. I love chicken because it's cheaper this week. We've got to be aiming at how to find those inexpensive options where we can, because those decisions on a single meal add up to a lot of money, right? We need to be more thoughtful around those choices that we're making. This is the key that I want to really drive home. This question, what is the best use of this next dollar? And it seems like it's not a very exciting question. It's $1. What are we talking about? Why do we need to worry about this? But if I have $1, what should I do with it? One of the hardest things about money is the having of it. Our brain immediately wants to tell us all the stuff we could do with it, all the things we could buy with it. Like I could buy that new pair of shoes, or I could buy that new car, or I could afford that new cell phone, or I could blah, 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 blah. If I just had this much money, we already have in our mind all the things we want to do with it, and we're not even asking the question, is that the best use of it? We don't even care. We're just using it because we want to, and it sounds fun and it feels good. But we need to be asking this question all the time. What's the best use of this dollar? Am I doing what is the best application of this money? These little decisions will make a massive difference. So we need to learn how to use that next dollar. So this is what we're going to focus on in this next 5 minutes. We're going to focus on our cash flow. As we are thinking about the spending that we're doing in the cash flow, the budget that you guys worked through, that worksheet, where are there things that are avoidable? Maybe as you kept your journal this week, where were some things that were obvious that it's like, man, I could cut that part out, or I could certainly at least reduce it? Because we need to start being able to capture dollars. One of the things that's really hard is finding a dollar to be able to apply to a problem, right? If we spend all the dollars as soon as we have them, then I don't have a dollar that I can apply to this bill that's gone behind and is late by 60 days. Or I don't have a dollar that I can apply to this next month's groceries because I spent it on these other things. We got to get them back in order to then be able to do something with them. So what we want to focus on now is finalizing that cash flow. Go ahead and look through that spending journal and see what you can change on that cash flow sheet. If you were to actually remove some of those avoidable expenses, what would you be able to save? So go ahead and work on that sheet, refine it. I think there might even be another version. So this is the weekly cash flow sheet, which is in the center there. And yep, that's right. And so look through that. Just take some time to brainstorm what you could cut.
That's the one
If you
for
brought,
this exercise.
yep, if you brought credit card statements or bank statements, and you need to be able to pull some of those to be able to look at what did I spend on some of these things, you can do that if you want to get more detail. But we're really asking the question, what are some places that we can start to cut some avoidable expenses in order to capture those dollars? And then we're going to talk about what we do with them once we capture them. All right, so get working on that, and then raise your hand if you have questions. We're happy to come around and help. Bruce and I will team up and help you with anything you need. All right, we're going to jump into credit reports. Who has pulled their credit report in here? All right, nice, great. So what's that?
I said, we all.
Yeah, you had a chance to go do it. Okay, good. Credit reports are one of the most confusing things. I don't know why we've made them this hard. I'm frustrated by how confusing they are. I'm going to try to make sense of it. But your credit report is either your best friend or your worst enemy. It's either helping you, it's putting your best foot forward, or it is getting in the way of you continuing to grow and get access to whatever it is that you're wanting to change. If it's, like I mentioned earlier, a different apartment, a different cell phone. They're pulling your credit report for everything now. And so we need to know how it works, what we actually need to do in order to make the score go up, and what we're doing that a lot of times isn't making any difference, but it's costing us a lot of money. So the minimum score on a credit report is 300. A lot of times people will tell me, my credit score is so bad it's 150. No, it's not. 300 is the minimum. By the way, I don't care what your number is. We're not worried about that. What I'm more worried about right now is understanding what's on it and what we're going to do about it. Again, we're in that understand your reality stage right now. The maximum score, depending on which credit bureau it is, and one of them now increased theirs to, I think, 900, because they're all trying to, be different, just to make it more confusing. But let's call it somewhere between 820 and 850, and, maybe one of them you can get up to 900 now, but, basically that's the range. You're going to be somewhere between those numbers. It's Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Those are the three credit bureaus. So the way that this works is you have something. It's a debt, a credit card, or a loan that you take out, and it gets reported by the financial institution to one of these, sometimes two of them, in rare cases all three of them, depending on what it is, but then they just report to each other. It's this weird gobbledygook of information about you. And one of the things that's fascinating about that is that's why if you pull Equifax, for example, you might see something on there, and then if you pull Experian, it might not be there. Maybe it's a good thing. you want it on there because it's good history. It's showing that you're responsible and it's not being reported by one of them. Maybe it's a bad thing that fell off that shouldn't be there anymore. They make errors all the time because they're sharing data in all these different ways, and a lot of times they'll get Social Security numbers messed up. They'll put things on there because your name is similar to somebody else's. They will have reporting that they're putting out that's not true about you, and we got to make sure we clean those things up because, again, it will be our worst enemy if it's not clean, if it's not telling the truth. So all three of those are telling a story. Some of them are different stories, which is really frustrating. All right. There are things that decrease your credit score. They make your score go down. It's basically anything that shows bad history. Late payments. So if you have a 30-day behind, 60-day, 90-day behind bill, the more severe it's behind, the more it's hurting your score. Things like the level of debt that you have on credit cards. One of the things that's so dumb about this is credit is measured by how much is available to you and how much you've borrowed. So let's say, for example, you have a credit card that has a $1,500 limit and you've got, $1,200 on it that you owe. When you are that high or close to your maximum, your score is going down. You need to keep all of your credit cards, ideally, under 33% utilization. So if you have a $10,000 credit limit, just for easy math, you need to use less than $3,300 worth of debt. The balance has to be less than that. 30% ideally or less is really what we're aiming at. So what we're trying to do is make sure that the limit is high enough that our normal usage every month, if you're using it to buy groceries and paying it off, we don't want that usage to be too high because it'll actually make your score go down. This is why I hate store cards. If you go into Kohl's, Kohl's, for crying out loud. Would you like to save 10% today and open a Kohl's card? Kohl's card? Kohl's card? You can get some Kohl's cash, right? It's all about Kohl's cards. Jeez, lay off me with the Kohl's card. Anyway, what they do is they will give you a limit for what you're buying that day. So if you have $250 worth of clothing, they will give you a $300 limit and you've already almost maxed that sucker out and your score plummets. Stores always do that. They will only give you enough credit limit for what you're buying, which means you are already close to the edge. So we want to make sure our limits are high enough to not be in that place where we're overusing. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, they don't get me that way.
Okay.
If I use my card, I immediately pay cash for that bill.
And pay it down. That's awesome.
Yeah, that way my credit stays up.
That's right.
I don't know nobody. Everything.
That's it. I love that. Yes. I have no problem with you using it. We just got to make sure what we're using isn't kicking us into a level where that debt or the balance, even if you pay it off, if that balance is there when you get the bill, you pay it off, you're still going to see your score go down if that credit level, even if you pay it all off, is at the max. We need to pay attention to our histories, short histories. If you are bouncing credit cards around, you open this one because it gives you cash back, and then you open this one because it gives you Sky Miles, and then you open this one because it gives you better cash back, and you keep moving things around, a credit card that's less than 2 years old is hurting you. So what we don't want to do is keep opening new cards. Those are all making your score go down. What we want to do is keep old cards. The last thing we want to do is close an old card. If you have a card that has great history and it is just showing all of this wonderful, always on time, never late history, and then you close it, that history goes away with it. So we want to make sure we keep those things open. So the other thing that makes your score go down is inquiries, which you mentioned earlier. If someone is pulling your credit, a hard credit pull, which means that they are asking the bureaus to give them a full report back because they want to give you debt, it will make your score go down. If you go and you are shopping for a car and you pull all these different places, they are pulling and they're doing a hard inquiry, you will end up with a situation where your score will be lower the more of that you do. So don't have them pull your credit until you're ready to actually make a purchase. All right. The way that we increase our credit score, on-time payments. I don't care if you're in a situation where you have some credit card debt and you're struggling to keep up with it. I don't care if you make the minimum payment for now. We want to make more than that. We want to pay it off, but just make a payment. Do not let it go late. late payments are absolute murder on your credit score.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Is good, is no credit good, is,
Yeah.
let me say this.
Yes,
right.
you're right.
Is, okay, not having no credit, is that good or is that bad?
That's bad.
Okay,
Isn't that crazy?
yeah.
Right.
Because somebody I know was trying to buy a house, and they said you don't have no credit.
That's right.
And I'm like, well, one, shouldn't they?
If
well,
you've
I
never
thought about,
bought-
like,
that's right.
Shouldn't they want somebody that don't have no credit, but because they always paid out cash for everything.
And this is the reason. This on-time payment history is what they're looking for. The reason they don't know if you're going to make a payment is because they don't have proof that you do, right? So we don't need to borrow. So for example, if you open a credit card and you pay it off every month, you're still showing a history of always on time. So you don't need to actually have debt, but you need to have transactions that show that you're making those payments. That's what makes your score go up, is on-time payments. But absolutely, if you don't have any history, your score is terrible because they have no way to know if you're even good at this. That's right. So they won't lend you. It's the funniest thing.
That's
People,
crazy.
yeah, people are like, I've never used a credit card. I've never used. I'm like, well, you're gonna need to start because we need to get some history on there.
Because I don't have no credit cards now.
Yep. Right.
With my younger years, not no more.
Former me. Right, yeah, that's right. Yeah. But we do need something in place that's showing payment. If you spend too much time with no history, you will watch your score continue to decline. We need long history. We want open cards. So if you're going to get a credit card, we want to pick a card that is a big national bank or something that you know you're going to keep forever. Don't go get like some regional small thing that then changes or that you close because you don't like it or you don't use that bank anymore. Those kinds of things cause you to keep doing this short history thing. We want to get at least a big national card that we're just going to keep for the rest of our life because that long history is gold. Once you're over 2 years, and really when you get to 5 years of really good history, it is helping your score dramatically. And then no recent inquiries. That helps your score. If you're not out there shopping for more credit, they're not pulling your report, then your score keeps drifting up, even if nothing else changes, just because you're not hitting it and driving it back down.
Oh, okay, so that do make it go up if you ain't getting nobody pulling on your credit. Okay.
That's right.
okay,
If you just
okay.
let it be.
I don't have nobody
That's
pulling
right.
on my credit.
Go into cruise control mode, make your payments every month, pay off your debts every month. If you credit cards, if you can, pay the full balance. Even if all you do with a credit card that has like a $800 limit on it, let's say. If the only thing you do is once a month you buy 1 tank of gas with it, and then you pay it off every month, and that's the only thing you ever do with that credit card, it will be golden because you're not hitting that 33% usage. You're paying it off every month. You're always on time. You're never late. And all of those things add up to an increasing score. And if you do nothing else, you'll just see the score keep drifting up. It's crazy. Again, it doesn't work the way it feels like it should. It's confusing, which is why we're talking about it. All right. This is the most important thing, closing the door on past mistakes. One of the things that I see over and over and over again is people are drowning in things that are coming at them, collection calls, notices, late notices, things like that. And we need to figure out what we're going to let go of, because if we keep chasing our tail by trying to fix past mistakes, we make new ones. So let's say, for example, the collector calls you and they threaten your firstborn like they do. And they tell you, they tell you we're going to send somebody to arrest you, right? I mean, what a joke. Anyway, so they threaten you, and in order to make the threat go away, you take the money that was going to go towards your utility bill and you give it to them. The thing that is so crazy, and they'll tell you that it does change your credit score. They'll tell you if you pay this off, if you pay this collection off, your credit score goes up. That's not true. The credits, the collection is on your report for 7 years. It doesn't go away. So it's already done the damage. So even if it's like a $150 collection, and you're like, I'll give you $80 just to go away, and now in doing that, that means that this utility bill goes 30 days late, your score goes down. Because now you have a late payment on your history, and paying off the collection didn't change anything. So we keep chasing this thing, trying to make this collection call go away, and then we make new problems and our score keeps going down because we're in that spiral. What we need to do more than anything is figure out which of these things that are on your credit score actually matter, and if they don't matter, let them go. They will die in a 7-year slow death. They will finally fall off. And when they fall off, your score jumps.
It goes up. It sure does.
But we need to figure out what we're just going to let fall off. And when somebody calls you about that thing that we've decided ahead of time we're not going to address, you can tell them to go pound sand in a very kind way, right? Just, I'm not going to do it. Because there's no reward in it. There's no win in it for you on your credit score. Now, I do say, if you are in a situation where you have paid off all these things and everything's up to date and everything's clean and you do want and have the ability to pay those things off, you should. But it is not the best use of your dollar if that's not the case, right? Any questions on any of that? I know I'm like blasting you guys with credit score stuff. Yeah.
But I don't know if it's about this. Okay, like, say like you got a debt that's going in, you got something that's going into debt. So
Yep.
a third party person call you, are you liable to, like, to pay? You're not liable to pay that third party. You're supposed to pay your debtors.
No, so here's the way the collections work.
You understand?
I do,
Okay.
absolutely. Yes, that's a great question. The way that collections work is, let's say Verizon, as an example, this is your cell phone bill, right? You didn't pay it, and they send it to collections. And cell phones, by the way, cell phone companies are notorious for sending things to collections like instantly. It's just like, we're not even going to deal with it. Boom, off it goes. Every month or so, these companies will take baskets of debt, all these people that owe them money, and they'll go to a debt collector and they'll say, you can have these. And the debt collector buys them. So the Verizon in this case is like, we're never going to get this money.
Right.
So we'll sell it to this person, and let's say when you add it all up, it's $1 million worth of debts across the country. And that debt collector buys that debt for $100,000, right?
Sale, right there.
There you go, boom.
Title.
There you go. So they sell it to this debt collector. Now that debt collector has the right to collect on it. But if they paid 10 cents for your $150 collection, if they can get you to pay $50, they've made a ton of money. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
But they have the right to collect on it.
Because I think, like, on TikTok, I think the CPA was talking about that. Like,
Yep.
was talking about a third party, like some debts, like, they send them to debt collectors,
Yep.
whatever, the third party. Some debts they can't collect on, and some they can. That third party that bought that.
Yeah, it's
I'm
either
saying it right, if I'm making sense.
so there's two different layers to it, right? There's one layer where they're collecting on behalf of the debtor. Or I'm sorry, of the creditor. So in other words, they're saying, hey, you owe Verizon money, pay Verizon the money. Like they're like the bouncers or the bullies, right? So we're going to pay this company to see if we can extract some money out of you. That is how some of them work. Particularly if there's like bigger collections, like the Verizon may not want to let go of a big collection yet, but if it's a small collection, they just sell it. And if they sell it, then that collector now is who you pay.
Okay.
But again, they are just chasing to get something. And so that's why they'll threaten you, and then they'll say, just give me $50 and we'll call it even. Right? They do this garbage all the time because they only paid 10 cents. If you give them $50, they made a fortune on that 10 cents. It's unbelievable. So that's why they're so aggressive. They also know what you don't know that you know now. And that is, you can ignore them. And they think you don't know that. They think that you're going to be scared enough and you're going to feel, and if they scare you enough, you'll give them money. If it's a small collection, you can ignore them. If it's a big collection, you can't. Go ahead.
I was going to say, because I ignored them.
Yeah. We're going to talk about,
It didn't work out.
That's right. We're going to talk about that. The damage is done. Your credit score has already been hurt. How it's going to be hurt. Our biggest focus is to focus on not making new mistakes. We don't need to keep trying to fix our old mistakes. That's a lot of fruitless effort. What we need to do instead is just make sure that we don't have anything go late. We're always on time. We're paying as agreed on all of our current stuff. Let the old stuff die. All right. Again, this is that what's the best thing you can do with this next dollar. Okay, so here's the flow chart. This is the magic flow chart. All right. Should I pay it? If has my bill gone to collections? If the answer is no, then absolutely pay that sucker. Keep it current, keep it up to date, do whatever you can to not let it go to collections. That is so important because a late bill hurts you less than a collection. A late bill comes off once you pay it and it's current. If that sucker goes to a collection, it's hurting your credit score for 7 years. So if it is not in collections yet, we want to do something to keep it from going to collections. All right. That is what I just said. Okay, cool. All right. Is the bill in collections? If the answer is yes, now we've got to figure out what we do. How much is it? That's our most important question. This is why we want to pull your credit report. It will tell you what your collection amounts are. The person who's calling you, they are not the most ethical humans on the planet. They will say whatever they need to say in order to get money out of you. So they will tell you that you owe $17,000 and what you actually owe might be zero, might be 170, might be whatever. They can threaten you with these, we've got all these late fees and we've stacked all these things up. Your credit score will tell you what your actual number is. And we need to know, like, what do we actually owe? What could they actually come after us for? Because if it's small, we want to ignore it. But if it's big, we need to make sure we pay it. And here's my mental threshold. This is not a hard and fast rule. But if it's over $700, we're going to want to negotiate and pay something on that collection. And here's why. Once they are in the collection stage, anything that is over a substantial amount of money, they can get an attorney involved to get a judgment on you. And they will get the money out of you whether you want them to or not. The problem is those attorneys cost money. And so there's a threshold where it makes sense for them to pay an attorney to come after you. And anything below that, and I roughly say it's about $700. Sometimes I've had people get collections for $700 or $550, or I'm sorry, judgments. And I'm like, really? You're that angry about this? $500? Like, you're going to pay an attorney $675 to get a $500 judgment. Okay, go for that. I mean, if you're that angry, that's fine. So that does happen. I'm not saying they absolutely can. They can get an attorney to file and get a judgment against you for $50. They're just not going to because the attorney costs too much. So if it's over $700, we absolutely want to pay attention to it. We want to negotiate. We want to figure out what we can do to make headway on it because we don't want it to go to a judgment. Once they have a judgment against you, then you will find yourself in a situation where they garnish your wages and you are making payments on that thing whether you want to or not. And that is really devastating. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
have a question.
Yeah.
So say if, let's just pretend you got a judgment.
Yeah.
Now, how does that play in the role of credit? Like,
Yeah.
does that, say you paid it off, you say you got a judgment and then you were
Yep.
like, all right, you somehow made the resources and you paid the judgment.
Yep.
Or they garnished your thing and you
Yep.
paid this debt. Does that affect you more than the original collection? Like, or is it just the same as if you were?
It's still going to be on there for 7 years.
7
Yep.
years.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, if you get it paid off, you still have that 7-year window where that negative history is on
Tell you
there.
one thing that don't come off your credit is school loan.
Yes.
Oh yeah, man.
And
Yeah.
that's all that's on my credit is school loan.
Yeah.
Medical bills.
Yeah, medical bills and school loans. That's right.
Yeah,
You can't.
medical bills,
That's
they-
right. You can't use bankruptcy to get away from those things. Yeah, go ahead.
I heard a rumor that if your credit thing is about to expire,
Yeah.
you will get a call, and if you answer, you respond, it starts up all over again.
That's not true, but that's a really good point. So, I'm sorry, your name? Brought up a really, really critical rumor. This is something that, again, this industry thrives on keeping everybody confused. It's maddening. So, if you have a collection that's about to expire, and someone randomly calls you about that collection right before it's about to expire, that doesn't start the clock back over again. They want people to believe that because then they're like, oh crap, now I got to pay it because I answered the phone, right? That's not true. It is a 7-year cycle, whether it runs its
phone or
course.
not.
That's right, whether you answer the phone or not. One of the things that's really challenging, though, is you'll have these cycles. So at the beginning of a collection, they will pound you, right? Because you know it, you're familiar with it, you're scared of it, and they'll come after you. Then you'll notice, like they just kind of go away. They stop calling. And this whole time, that's just this sleeping thing that you're like, oh, I guess it doesn't matter anymore. And then right before it expires, they'll come after you again because they only have this window before it's gone. And so it's this really weird, confusing cycle because like, why are we talking about this? That was 7 years ago. Oh, that's why. Because they know if we don't get you to pay it, we're going to lose our opportunity. So they have this wave that hits. Yep. Yeah. Did you have a question? Yeah.
What can they garnish? I know
Yep.
wages.
Yep.
What about
How much?
disability or Social Security? Oh, no,
Oh,
I know they can.
yeah. It's big.
Crap ton.
Yes, it's insane. Yes,
What
yes.
about Social Security, disability?
I don't know off the top of my head how much of those things they can take, but it's mostly earned income that they garnish. Yep. Yes. Yes. I am not sure. I think retirement Social Security is subject to it. I don't know about disability. I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to look into it. If you're in a situation where that's a potential, we can talk about it. But yeah. So over 700, we want to negotiate and do something to keep it from blowing up on our face. I already said that. Okay, under 700, let it die. It will eventually go away. It will be a lot of pain. They will call you and hassle you and harass you and threaten you, and all of that is fine, and they can do that. But we don't want to give in to their threats and end up wasting dollars that could be used to make progress, because paying this off is not making progress. Okay? Any questions on any of that? I know that's a messy one.
Would they, you have 5 bills,
Yeah.
500, 400, 300. Would they consolidate them and then say that's worth going to the lawyer and
Yeah,
now going after you, or do they look at it one at a time?
They'd be individual.
They
Yep.
need individual.
Yep.
So
Yep.
they have 70 your debts.
Yep.
They're not, okay.
Yep. Yeah, each collection is an individual case that they go after. Now, if it is the same creditor, like you did this with Verizon 6 times, and Verizon sold all of those to one collector, it's possible, but if it's a smattering of different situations, different different vendors that you have, they don't consolidate across those vendors. Yeah. Does that make sense? Okay. Cool. So there's your flow chart that will answer all of your life's questions about collections. I'm just kidding. Please, this is something that we do a lot of work with in the coaching. So this is why we have you pull your credit report, because we need to prioritize these things, organize around them, and make sure we know what we're doing with all of these collections. We'll be able to tell you, this is one that's too big and it's new. It's probably going to be a problem. We need to pay attention to it. So those are the kinds of things we'll be able to help you coach to. All right. So if you're looking at that collection and it didn't make the list of the stuff that you need to pay off, right? So we need to look at the debt that we have, the stuff that's behind, the things that we need to catch up on, and those are the things that take priority, which means if the collection for $50 from Verizon that's been sitting out there for a few years isn't on the list, then close the door on it and be done with it. Mentally, shut it down. Stop thinking about it, stop worrying about it, stop giving it space. Because when we have all these things that are chewing on our mental capacity, it makes us tired, it makes us hopeless, it convinces us we can't get out of it, and that's not true. It's not true. So we want to make sure we just close the door on them and get it done. Our focus, and this is something you'll also hear from the coaches as you meet with them, one of the things that'll happen a lot of times when we meet with individuals is we will hear a lot about your past. I don't care. I love you too much to care about how you got here. We're not going to dwell on it. We're not going to ruminate on it. We're not going to coulda, woulda, shoulda. There's a great quote that I use all the time. This lady, weird name, but her name is Byron Katie. Strange name. But she says, when you argue with your past, you lose, but only 100% of the time. I love that quote. So we can spend a ton of time arguing with what we wish we'd done differently and how we would have been better off if we'd have done this instead of that. And we didn't. This is a waste of time. We are not going to argue with our past. We always lose that argument. What we're going to do is face our future and change what we do now. I don't care how you got here. I'm really more concerned about where you're going. Yeah. Don't argue with your past. You lose 100% of the time. All right. So we already talked about cash flow, this idea that money in versus money out is what we're really focusing on. Now I want to change before I move on to net worth, credit score or credit report questions. Anything that I missed, anything I need to clarify, anything that was muddy?
I did a credit report a month ago.
Okay.
Car.
Yeah.
So if you did one now with that since it's past this 2-week thing.
Great question. When we pull our own credit report, that is not an inquiry. So if you go to annualcreditreport.com and you pull your credit report, that doesn't count as an inquiry. Then it doesn't make your score go down.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So it used to be, ironically, this is the government for you. It used to be that you could get one credit report per year for free from each bureau. So Equifax, TransUnion, and what's the other one? Experian, thank you. Good golly. Those two E ones always get muddied in my brain. Anyway, it used to be that you would go to annualcreditreport.com, which is the name of the website, and you would pull one from Equifax and see what it said and fix what was on it. And then you would pull one from TransUnion and it would see what it said and fix it. And over the course of a year, you would pull all three because you only got one. Now, you can get one from each bureau per month. And yet the website is still called annualcreditreport.com, which I find hilarious. So you can pull them all each month and check them.
And it will not.
Doesn't change your score. That's right. And so that's great. We needed for so long more transparency in this thing because people would have to wait, or they'd make the mistake of pulling all three, and then they'd change those things, but then they couldn't look at it again for a year. Right? It's like, I don't even know if what I disputed got taken off or not, right? So now you have way more visibility to it, which is great. Any other questions on the credit report stuff? All right. Always use annualcreditreport.com. Don't go to Credit Karma, all these other places.
Is
They're all...
Credit Karma good?
No.
So
No.
why they keep talking about they help you with your credit score?
Because they're selling you something.
And then they want to give you a credit card.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
all of that.
That's
It's
it.
like,
They are. They're all. Yeah, they're holding themselves out there as just these saints. They do nothing but good. All they're doing is selling subscriptions. So they sell a credit monitoring subscription. You pay for that per month. That's right. So that they can pull your credit report, which you can do for free, right? And then they tell you they improve your credit, and they will give you a lot of this same stuff I just gave you on how you can improve your credit score. But that's all known. Like you can find that out anywhere. So don't pay for these services. That is not a good use of a dollar, and they charge you a lot. All right, let's talk about net worth. Net worth is a very important financial word, and it sounds like we're talking about greed, or we're talking about rich people things, right? But it is really important for us to know what this is and how to think about it, because your net worth is think of it almost like if your cash flow is your blood pressure, right? Your net worth is your cholesterol level. It's like a how are you doing? Are you okay, right? Your cash flow is what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, but we need to know, are we actually healthy? And your net worth is what tells us whether you're healthy or not. All your net worth is, even though it sounds like a really fancy word, it's your assets minus your liabilities. Another way to say that is what you own. Let me see where that is. Oh, well, I'll go back this way. What you own minus what you owe. So we are wanting to know where we stand in this net worth. If you are only paying your bills, that's great. but you're not preparing and getting ahead and saving for future needs, which means all you're doing is setting up to be in a place where in the future you can't pay your bills. Like, we need to keep building this thing that gets us ready for the future, and that's net worth. What you own minus what you owe is your net worth. We call it balance sheet as well. That's another word for it. But what we want to do is we want to build ourselves to a place where we have a positive cash flow. And then you mentioned earlier, we save $100 a month, right? That would be adding to our assets, what we own, building a net worth. And so the first step is let's get to a place where we're having a positive cash flow. We have extra at the end of the month. But the second step is don't spend that extra. Start to save it, start to build, start to create that balance sheet. And over time, as you build that up, you get more and more prepared for what's ahead. So, what are the things that you own? These would be things like your house. If you own your house, if you're not renting, if you're paying a mortgage, you would own the house. A car, even if you're paying on the car, if you're buying it, not a lease. If it's not a lease, you're not renting the car, which is like a lease. If you're paying it to purchase, you own the car. If you have savings accounts, investment accounts, anything that is an asset that is yours that you own, checking accounts, all of those things would be in that asset category. Cryptocurrency would be an asset. It's a very volatile asset. Nobody knows what it's actually worth, but it's there. All right. So on the side of liabilities, what do I owe? So what you'll see is these all line up, right? So if you have a house that has a mortgage, well, then your asset is the house and the mortgage is the debt, the liability. The car, if you have a car loan over here, like that would be the offset. So if you have a car that's worth $10,000, you owe $5,000 on it, you have a net worth of $5,000, right? The difference between those two. What do you have in credit cards, student loans, anything that's unpaid or past due, anything that would be like a medical bill, anything over here would be what you owe. And all we're going to do is we're going to add up what we have, and we're going to add up what we owe, and we're going to compare those two. And so if all the stuff you own is worth $6,000, and all the stuff that you owe is worth $13,000, you have a negative net worth of $7,000. That's not a great place to be, but it's good to know what we're facing, right? We want to understand our reality. Because what a lot of people will say is, I'm worth negative $700,000. Like, no, you're not. What's the number? What are we really dealing with? A lot of times people are shocked to find out they have a positive net worth. When we add these things up and we compare what you owe, a lot of times it's like, oh, I'm actually worth $10,000 on paper or $6,000 on paper. All right, cool.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So would insurance, like life insurance, would that be part of a
Only
assets or?
if it has a cash value.
Yeah.
If it's a term policy that doesn't have a cash value, it wouldn't be an asset. But if it has a cash value, yep,
Okay.
that would be in the asset side.
Okay.
You get, but just the cash value,
Yeah.
not the death benefit.
Yeah,
Yep,
I know.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about the house? Is the house what you bought it for, or is the house
What it's worth right now.
appreciated?
Yep, what it's worth right now would be the
What it's
asset.
worth right now.
Correct.
That can change
Yep.
in a year or so.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
So if you bought a house for $100,000,
Mm-hmm.
so it'd be less than what you bought it for now. Like it'd be worth less now. Like
Well, it depends on when you bought it. It might be worth a lot more, right?
also, like if you bought it, say like you bought it like 4 years ago. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
So
It'd be worth way more.
it'd be
That's
worth
right.
more.
That's right.
Oh,
So let's say you buy a house for $100,000.
no bill.
Yeah, let's say you buy a house for $100,000, and at the time you have a mortgage for $100,000, right? What's happening over time is you're paying that mortgage payment. The balance on that mortgage is going down. So now that's $90,000, let's say,
Okay.
and the house is going up. And so let's say that's worth $140,000 now.
Okay.
Well, now our net worth's growing, right? Your net worth grows two ways. You either add to this category, or you shrink this category. You either have more assets or you have less debt. Both of those are the same. They both make your net worth go up, right? What we want to be thinking about is debt payment is a form of saving. In fact, the government includes debt payments in their savings, national savings rate calculations. If you are paying down debt, you're saving. You're building your net worth, right? So we want to make sure we're not saying, a lot of times people will put the cart before the horse and they'll say, I need to save a bunch of money. And it's like, well, you have credit card debt over here at 22% interest. You're not making 22% interest on your savings account. They're the same. We don't need to overthink this. We need to start paying that stuff down because that's the best use of that dollar. That's what's going to make our net worth go up faster. All right. So here's the homework. I think we actually, do we have a net worth sheet in there?
We got a week
There we go.
3, a week 2.
Yeah, week 2 onward. Week 3.
Is it in the middle?
Take a look.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all fresh. I haven't taken anything.
Oh, no, we don't have it. Okay.
Would it be this one right here, like this one?
No, that's the reduce avoidable expenses. What would be helpful for you to prepare for as you're meeting with your coach is we want to make sure we have all of the moving parts from your credit report. These are the things I owe. Again, we're in that liabilities. What do we owe? And we also know what you own because we want to start mapping out what your current net worth is. That's a really important feature for us to be able to know where you are today. Not just cash flow, but overall situation. So if you haven't pulled your credit report yet, we definitely want to do that. And if you haven't, what we're going to do in the next week is we're going to actually start diving into what's on there. So we are in the understanding reality. Next, we're going to actually start prioritizing things. So next week, bring your credit report and your overall balance sheet, your bank statements, whatever else that would show us, this is what I have, this is what I'm dealing with. Because we're going to start to be able to say, okay, if this is what we're dealing with, this is the first thing we need to do. This is the most important thing. And this is what we do once we're done with that. So it might be, first thing we got to do is get this utility bill caught up to current. That's the most important thing, right? Once we do that, then we're going to pay this other thing that's down, that's about to go late. Like those are the things we got to negotiate, figure out what we're going to do. So that's what our next week's all about. It's really nuts and bolts next week. We're still in the high level, here's how things work. But next week we really get into the weeds of your particular situation. So this week we really want you to think about tracking all these expenses and start to categorize them in your mind. Was that an avoidable expense I could have skipped or reduced? And then start to celebrate for you the things that you're actually making progress on. So if you're like at the gas station and you didn't go in and buy a $3 Coke.
$2.50.
All right, gotcha, thanks.
After tax, no, dude, $2.86.
There it is, see, $3. If you say, I didn't do that, I normally do, celebrate that. Recognize this is progress, this is growth. That's how we make progress over time. Cancel anything that is unnecessary. If you have bills that are bogging you down, subscriptions, oh my goodness, the numbers of subscriptions we have now on apps and streaming services, and shrink that stuff. Get it down. Let's start to really focus in and give up some things we don't really need in order to actually make progress.
You can do the free trial. Just make sure to cancel right away.
That's right, exactly. And the idea here is we need to stop telling ourselves that it's only $3, it's only $1, it's only $50. These dollars all add up. Everything we make that is progress towards capturing those dollars and being able to use them more efficiently is progress. It doesn't matter how small it is. I don't care if it's a $3 subscription that you don't need, cancel it. It's $3 you can get back. We got to start choosing these things and prioritizing the right things so that we're not wasting these dollars that could be used to get us further ahead. All right. Rest of the time is for any questions that you guys have, anything that, and we have coaches here with us. If you want to dive into specifics in your situation, we're happy to do that. But if there's any general questions, good. Yeah. Bruce? Yeah, go ahead.
One thing I wanted to share, when I've worked with people, that you look at the budget, and it's hard to put together a budget, right, to track everything.
Yeah.
And same thing with the net worth, when, it takes time to put it together. But those are kind of like keeping score. It's like if you're playing basketball and you start keeping score, you're going to play hard, right? And you're going to see progress. I worked with a couple that for months I worked with them, and it just seemed like we were kind of not making a whole lot of progress. But then we started looking at their net worth and how much money they had paid down, And over like a 2-year period, they ended up paying down like $30,000, improving it. Same thing with their expenses. You
Yeah.
know, if you look at your inflow and outflow, when you can see that changing over time, now you're keeping score and you can say, wow, we're making progress.
That's right.
It takes time to recover from where you are right now, probably. And if you're not seeing progress in hard numbers, you're gonna say, what's the use, right?
That's right. That's
So
right.
keep score. These take time to do, but as you track it over each month and see the progress you're making, that'll make a huge difference in being motivated and say, we're really going in the right direction.
That's great. Great. I love that. Yeah. When all we're paying attention to are the bills in the mailbox, it doesn't feel like anything changes, right? Because it's the same bill that we've been paying. But like Bruce was saying, if you actually are paying attention to what has happened over time, every time you pay that bill, that net worth's going up. If it's a debt that you're paying down, even if it's only going up by $15 over time, it's going up. And we got to make sure we're aware of that because that's what gives us a reward to be able to keep going. It feels hopeless when you don't have the perspective of the progress that you're making. But you will be making progress. You are making progress. If you're paying your bills, you're making progress. It takes intentionality. It takes a lot of discipline and thought. And you guys already have 1,000 things that you have to deal with, and this is adding to that plate, and I recognize it. But it is really important because it is what actually gets you to a place where you start to gain confidence and get to a place of stability and belief in yourself. The thing that I hate is how often the systems, the programs, the way that all this stuff works, it's reinforcing, what's that?
AI.
Yeah. Oh, well, AI. Yeah. But it's reinforcing the subsidies and the way that they speak to you, the way that they treat you, the assumption that everybody makes that you just need to somehow like suck it up, walk it off. That drives me insane. You are incredibly capable, incredibly talented. You are able to do this, but no one's telling you that, and we want to tell you that because it's true. If you're hearing you're not good enough, you're not able to, don't even try. If that's all that you're surrounded by, then there's a lot of reason why you would give up and feel hopeless. And I just need you to know you can do this. You're absolutely able to. This isn't hard. It's not easy, but it's not as hard as we make it. Unfortunately, all of this stuff takes time and time takes time. There's no shortcut. There's no get-rich-quick scheme that works. It's just discipline in the same direction for a really long time. And so that's not super fun, but that doesn't mean it's not worth your effort. So I'm really proud of you guys for showing up.